What's up and welcome to Idle Insights, a show where each week I, Treavor Bettis, talk to interesting people about idle champions and Dungeons and Dragons. And joining me this week is returning guest Tanya DePass. Hello!
Hello, Trevor. I have missed you.
I have missed you. How have you been?
Busy, good, wrapping Rivals, and it's very weird because I've still got dice everywhere on my desk, but I never to roll them. So it's also a little sad now that I said that out loud. I'm like, wait a minute, that's kind of sad.
You're always ready, though. You're for at the moment's notice. You need to make an attack. Boom. There you go.
I mean, some of the D20s on my desk are attack size.
Where did it go? I actually literally had the metal Fen dice
Really?
on my desk last week. I don't know where it went now. And I kept thinking, like, if I chucked this at someone, that would be pretty bad.
I keep the take this D20 around. That is a chunky die.
It's chunky. It's real chunky. Yeah. But chat, we didn't come here to tell you about how to harm people with dice.
Whoops. Sorry.
Not
sorry.
Tony, actually, no, let's start off in case people in the chat don't know who you are. Who are you for those fine folks who may not know?
Oh, I'm an internet ne'er-do-well. But on Rivals start to end, I was on Black Dice Society. We always had a great time saying hi, Trevor, when we were doing the recordings. I've done a little bit of Dragon Age RPG, did that for a couple seasons on a friend's channel. Did a little bit of Star Trek for Roll20 as a guest, and that's kind of what led to Brian and Eugenio joining the show. Just a little bit of everything. I'm your internet ne'er-do-well, game writer, game developer, and as usual, I still don't sleep.
I also an all-around awesome person. I do think that you need a business card that says internet ne'er-do-well. I think that would be great.
You know what? I've got enough art of my characters. I'll do like a splash of all my characters with the internet ne'er-do-well.
Yes.
Fen was not a nice girl, so
she was quite the ne'er-do-well.
Yeah.
Well, Toddy, last time I asked you the icebreaker question of how did you get into D&D, we're going to start today off with, who was your first D&D character?
Ooh, I got to reach way back in the crates for this one. And you forewarned me, and I'm still like,
I did.
Oh God, who was it? I can't remember that far back, but I will tell you about a character that I ran until he met an unfortunate end of the Jaws of the Dragon.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so way back in the day when I still had a higher ed day job. I would wind up in a friends group. I would go over to Southside City. We'd play. It was like the old days of, why are we still awake 8 hours later? And you see the sun come up.
It's like, oh no, I messed up.
Right, you're like, well, I guess I'm taking a nap here before I go home. But he was a blatant ripoff of Fenders from Dragon Age 2. I'm not even gonna lie. Are you okay, Trevor?
Yeah, I just took a sip at the wrong time.
But he basically was like this elven rogue who lost his memory, and I was trying to play him kind of neutral. And despite being a rogue, the dice were not in my favor one day. He was I don't remember why, but he was basically like tied to a pole in the center of town. He had become the sacrifice for this dragon, and I'm like, I'm a rogue, this is nothing. Oh no, it wasn't a nat 1, but it was too low for me to escape.
Oh geez.
And poor Velozzo became a snack for the town dragon.
Oh no.
Yeah. There was I'm trying to remember, because I was in like a text-based Roll20 game, except that did not go well. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but when it's good at the start, and then eventually you all just go, maybe we should not all play together.
That's how my first RPG experience was. My first RPG experience was a Star Wars role-playing game through AOL Instant Messenger.
Oh wow, poor in the chat for AOL. Because the very first one, well, preceding the one I just told you about, that one was weird because we had, the DM who over prepares. We've all been there.
Mm-hmm.
But they wanted to give us homework.
Oh.
It was like, well, you didn't read this like 70-page PDF I emailed everyone 2 days ago. And it's like, no, I didn't. I don't write this much for myself. Why would I? But they had done like the whole, like this, I don't know if it was oh wow, am I that old? I think it was pre-Wikipedia, like game, like you could make your own wiki. And dude would send us like these like notebooks full of material. And I'm like, we have jobs.
Yeah. I can just hear B Dave's voice in my head. No one cares about your 10,000 years of backstory.
Literally. And it was just like, this is lovely. I'm glad you did this work, but none of us, A, are going to remember.
Mm-hmm.
B, none of us care.
Yeah. Oof, yeah, I don't think I would have done well in a group that had homework, especially assigned reading. I didn't even like doing that for school.
Oh, right? I'm pretty sure at that point I just started going to college because I didn't go to college. I was older. I didn't go straight out from high school. So my brain is like, you're going to send me like a 70-page PDF and you know that I'm in college and I have a full-time. What time am I manufacturing to read this document? Please explain to me.
Oh, boy. Yeah, well, what we're trying to get across, Chad, is don't give your players homework. Don't do it.
Or, your world building is precious to you and that's lovely. Do not expect your players to care as much as you do.
Mm-hmm. There have been times when I have literally gone on an info dump during game, and I've straight up said, "By the way, no one has to pay attention to this. This is just for me."
But you know what? They probably appreciated that.
It's true, and none of them did too. So you know what? It all worked out. So we're here today because Selise is getting a very cool new Spelljammer skin.
Yes.
But let's talk a bit about Selise before that, because I actually didn't get to do the Idle Insights episode when Selise came to the game.
I don't think we were doing those when she came to the game.
Man, was it that? Whew.
Yeah, it was out. Selise and Shaka predated like the nice key art. They're doing the Idle Insights.
Oh, that's right.
I'm pretty sure. I know I did one when Fen came out, but I and V or Lauren can correct me on this, but I'm pretty sure Selise is just far back enough before like it was part of Come on Idle Insights and do all the other things that we do to promote our characters.
Oh, well, then let's for the people in chat who don't know, who is Selise?
Selise Astorio is mid-40s. She started as purely a paladin, and then over the 15 seasons, she got a little bit of blood. I almost said blood mage, blood hunter. Wow,
you got Dragon Age on the brain.
When don't I have Dragon Age on the brain, though?
Tanya, you are so ubiquitous with Dragon Age for me that when I look at my Dragon Age TTRPG book, I think of you.
I love that. We have to do a session.
Yes. Oh my god, I'd love that. But let's talk about Selise.
And so she had a little bit of blood hunter for a while, and that just I didn't feel like it worked. And also, while we were hunting creatures with blood, which sounds weird to say now that out loud, it just like she wasn't ever evil. She navigated the gray parts of being a paladin and life, but I was never playing her as evil, even with all the things she'd been through.
Mm-hmm.
And so we switched it to Paladin Ranger, and then mainly just because I'm petty. And I don't like the tropish way a lot of people play barbarians. Very unintelligent, basically interested in food, fighting, and the other F word.
Be cool, chat. Be cool.
That's why I said the other F word. So I wanted to basically have a little bit of barbarian, and just get enough levels so I could rage, but do a very John Wick calculated. If you see this person coming towards you, you are about to die or have a very bad day. And especially then once I got Fenris as a familiar, I was like, it's John Wick, and if you hurt my dog, well,
bad things are going to happen to you, for sure.
Yeah, but Selise went through a lot. Like, she got her vengeance, but then that was when she got the blood hunter because she didn't do it in the right way. Like, it was very dishonorable. And then Shaka, I think, or Sharif handled that season really well, of kind of her having this epiphany of, oh, vengeance wasn't the right way.
Oh.
Yeah, because she was an Oath of Vengeance paladin when we started the show.
Mm.
And this is in retrospect, I realized I contributed to the bury your gaze stereotype. Because her wife was killed in front of her, and that was her MO for vengeance.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, she eventually, in many episodes later, does find love, sort of, kind of, maybe. I don't want to give spoilers in case anyone's not seen those seasons. But she's seen some things, shall we say. Almost got in my one cuss word. I'll save it for later. But she's seen some things. She's lived life, and also, when we started the show, I was mid-40s, and so I also wanted an adventure that wasn't like this fresh face, like baby.
Yeah,
because everyone makes it. Oh, my level 1 adventurer. They're just out of academy, or they left home to do whatever. And it's like, how old is your character? 18. Oh my god. Why are they? How do
they function?
Right. I mean, the time period that D&D set in, depending on how you're playing, an 18-year-old could be married and have a kid already, for all we know. But I wanted to play a mature character that was kind of a parallel, at least in terms of life experience and things that I would like to do but cannot do in real life. Like run around with a sword.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can, just bad consequences.
Yeah, I can run around with a sword. Just don't recommend.
So you want to have this character that was later on in their life and everything. Like what was it that when you were making Selise, like what was it that called you like paladin and everything like that?
I've always liked paladins, but I never liked the fact that you were locked into lawful good. And that changed with 5e, like Path of Vengeance and all these other things. So I wanted to explore a morally gray paladin where they'll do the right thing, but at kind of any cost.
Yeah.
It's not like, I love the D&D movie, no one yell at me. But, the way we get the paladin in the D&D movie where this man cannot break a law to save his life.
Yeah.
He's like very, he seems almost stodgy. And if you ever see this interview, please don't yell at me, sir. But it was like, he didn't even speak in contractions.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that, but I also didn't want to just go full broken oath because that wouldn't have fit with the group we were putting together. Like, why would Selise join a bunch of people if she was a broken oath paladin? Unless she was trying to spend all this time redeeming herself.
Yeah.
So I wanted to walk the moral gray line, and the people we started the show with, by the time we ended, we were comfortable with each other where we could explore those kinds of things. And there wasn't if you do this, my character's going to hate you because I'm going to play them exactly to type.
Yeah.
So I wanted to play around with things I'd never done before, because I've played a rogue. I'd never really played like other characters. I will just say I am not good with playing a magic user very much. Like I did it a bit with Fen, and Selise can do spells, but she's not like a sorcerer or a wizard.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a similar thing with spells where it's just like, oh yeah, I've got this giant list of spells. Don't remember what a single one of them do, but I have them.
No, every week, if you ever, like in the old Black Dice episodes, if you ever see me just looking, that's me trying to look up a spell. Like, don't mind me.
I'm playing a Hexblade Warlock right now on a stream.
Ooh.
And that one's been so nice just because I'm like, oh, I only have 3 spell slots. Okay, cool. I just know 3 times I'm gonna do something cool.
And then once you're done until you rest.
Yep. I got a cool dancing sword. It's gonna do all the cool stuff for me when I can't do spells. There we go.
Nice. Very nice.
And so when you were making Selise, that was for the beginning of Rivals, and Rivals started during the stream Many Eyes, correct?
Correct. June 1st, 2018.
That's wild. It somehow seems not far ago, not so long ago, and yet also extremely long ago.
I think if the pandemic hadn't happened, it wouldn't. We'd probably still be going because we'd still be doing D&D in person. But then again, we might not have the chemistry we have, because while we were up until the Panini, we were kind of locked in. You had to be local. You had to be able to come to the studio. And then, when Carlson Serena left, we brought in Latia. Like, she played with us once at C2E2, and then we got in literally one episode in the studio before everything locked down.
Oh, jeez.
And then we didn't get to go back to that studio at all for an episode. We went back there for the documentary about me to film some scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, other than the last episode we filmed at Chicago Podcast, we were not in person outside of PAX.
Jeez.
For the last 3 years.
That's really wild. Like, I mean, obviously, pandemic is a good reason to do that, but it is wild. That's like this was a show that started at an in-person event during a live stream. But and I mean that we'll get to it later. But that's why I'm so happy that you all got together for the finale. Like that's so good.
Yeah. I wish I could tell you how hard it was to keep it a secret because we kept going back for, should we tell people? Should we not tell people? We're like, no, let's make a surprise. Our last episode, let's go out the way we want. And so like we'd taken all these photos. We're like, can't share the photos. And like Eugenio slipped once on stream and said he was going to Chicago. He didn't say it again, but once during stream, because he was like, not that he streams on the weekends.
Yeah.
But he was like, oh, like talking about plans. He was like, oh yeah, going to Chicago. And then the next time was like, just got a little travel coming. But then Sharif also tweeted about like taking a flight home. And I'm like, Brian Urban Bohemian was like, yeah, sharp-eyed people they'll be like, what's the guy with the red string?
Oh yeah, no, they got the red web back there. They're figuring it out.
Yeah. He's like, sharp people that pay attention, they'll put two and two together.
One of the things that I've really enjoyed talking with all y'all about, the different members of Rivals, is the whole swapping of the DM. Like I still think that is one of the coolest things out there, and definitely like let me tell you this, chat, there is a plethora of reasons to check out Rivals of Waterdeep, but seeing a group so perfectly switch between DMs each season, I can't recommend that enough. And so, how many seasons did you DM?
Two. 8 and 14, and then I DM'd the very last episode because we did kind of a popcorn DM thing those last 6 episodes.
So, but the most recent, besides the finale season, you did some Spelljammer stuff.
Yep, we went out in space.
How did that go?
So it was interesting because it also, without meaning to, we aligned with the Spelljammer ICP that B-Dave was doing and Brian Eugenio were on. And so I kept asking Dave, I'm like, is it okay if I like do stuff? And then Brian Eugenio like, no, let's keep it 2 separate timelines. And I'm like, but I want to bring stuff from this episode, especially like their little familiars, their gemstone dragons. But I think Spelljammer was relatively new, and it was just something different, and it was a way to kind of, not be in Faerun, have something different, but also kind of explore space and get a little sci-fi without really leaving like D&D behind. Yeah. And I'm a big sci-fi nerd in addition to tabletop nerd. Same. So I was like, we get to go in space, and and I feel like the spaceship that we named Rival, it was fun to do that, and kind of I didn't do it intentionally, but it worked out where it was almost a callback to that episode of Star Trek that we did as a charity thing from when Brian and Eugenio was on there, because I gave it the same voice.
That's fantastic.
I do a very good computer voice.
Oh, I love that. Wait, there was a computer in Rivals?
Yeah, remember when Rival finally started talking to them?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was thinking like full on computer, like
I'm sure it was like more of like a neuro, because it was like the one that looks like a fire, like a firefly, a dragonfly.
Oh, okay.
So that was what Rival was, and then they were on an actual like space pirate ship when they were like, well, I guess we're caught here. Because the planning was just weird, because Latia was going to be out, and then like Eugenio or Brian, like we had absences, so I was also trying to figure out like how to explain them not being with everyone else.
Yeah. The but also like what level were they during that? They were like 18 or something, right?
Yes, because
See that
that was season 14. No, it wasn't 11. I've forgotten when
I don't.
this was.
Time is weird. I because you even brought it was like, yeah, it was the one with the Spelljammer Isle Champions Presents. I'm like, that was either a few months ago or a year ago. I don't remember.
It feels like a year ago, but whatever. If it was not, because Brian Eugenio co-DM season 11, and I know I didn't DM that one. It was either 13 or 14. It was one
Okay.
of them.
Yeah.
But
But it was still high enough level play where like that's where
oh
I
yeah,
think like Spelljammer stuff kind of like sits at the best, especially when you're like in a campaign, it starts off in Faerun and everything. Like once you get into the high level stuff, you can cast spells that do ridiculous things. Why not go to space?
I mean, Brian's character basically was almost a demigod anyway with his weather.
Yep.
So, and and Eugenio with his Phantom Rogue abilities, Dahani with all she was learning about being a monk,
Mm-hmm.
and now that we know that Gosrick is basically immortal, because druids apparently don't die after level 20.
Yeah, I found that out recently. That was a that was interesting to learn about.
Yeah,
Just keep leaving. Whatever.
he's just a rock somewhere.
Yep. So rivals wrapping up.
Mhm.
I mean, I know that I'm going into this with like smiles and everything, but like I do know that this is like ending a campaign is an emotional thing,
Oh yeah.
I know it very much was for y'all. How did obviously without spoilers because we want folks to go check it out. How did that final season go?
It was interesting. So the way we set up was Masood DM the first 6 episodes,
Mm-hmm.
and then we popcorned around the final 6. And what we did, we actually all kind of DM'd it together, even behind the scenes. We created a document of, okay, this is it, level 20. We're going out the way we want. What are things you feel like you absolutely want to touch on with your character? Are there things like, or have you thought about the future? Have you thought about 10, 20 years after this campaign wraps?
Mm-hmm.
What is like Selise doing? Does she go back home? What does Shaka do? So we created like this almost like Doctor Who level. 250 years from now this happens and someone finds a book about the rivals, but 1,000 years from now someone finds Gosrick when he's like still a rock and a mountain. So but we took those and we all claimed a week.
Mm.
And we like whoever was DMing that week, because we also did every other week so we could end on the anniversary of our start.
I love that.
So it was a lot of deliberate planning, probably the most deliberate planning a lot of us have done. And it was just those things where it's like, okay, the week that Brian and Eugenio are co-DMing, what is it they want to do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do we get to see more of Kent and Virgil, or are they going to focus on other people? Because we still had 2 hours every week to fill.
Yeah.
But you also didn't want to force it, because the final episode does run a little short, but there was no good way to do like another round robin of telling everyone's kind of story.
Yeah.
So it was weird, but it was also like it just felt right. So every week we touched base in Slack, and whoever was DMing, if they wanted to, they reached out and went, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm thinking. Are you okay with X, Y, and Z? Or are there things you absolutely want to touch on if this is my plan? And we just talked every week, every time after episodes in Slack. And a lot of us were okay until we were in person to do the recording. The folks that don't live here showed up the night before. And it was weird. And we were fine until we got there and sat down and started talking. And then it was like, oh, this is it.
Yeah.
And Eugenio had been through this already with his podcast.
Oh yeah, that was not too long ago either.
No, so Last Refuge wrapped, and they flew out to LA, all of them, and did it in studio, and they shot 10 episodes over 2 days.
2 days.
Well, I think the Last Refuge episodes are fairly short.
Yeah.
Like an hour and some change.
Okay.
But to still have that emotional.
Yeah.
Oh, this is really it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was okay. Like we aired it, we did our Q&A, And then yesterday, or no, actually, now it's like 2-3 weeks. Basically, the first Sunday where I did not have to get on a Zoom call, or I knew I wasn't going to talk to everyone as usual. Like the schedule's thrown off. What do we do?
Yeah.
I didn't cry. It was close, but I didn't cry. But I just had that kind of, I did my sad tweet about I'm not going to be on Zoom with my friends.
Yeah. But like overall, did you feel that like you all wrapped up Rivals in a good way?
I think so, and it's hard because I was in the DM seat, and I'm always my own worst critic.
That's fair. I get that.
So yes, it was good. We told story. We told the stories we wanted to tell, and there's always room to go back. But it was also just, it was hard because it wasn't when we expected to wrap our story, and it was also just it's like knowing it's coming. It's knowing that we knew the date, we knew the time, everything was set, and every time I've DM'd an episode, I'm always one of like, was that okay? Are y'all okay? Was that fun? And they're like, yes. Kind of like, you doofus, stop asking us this.
I also relate to that.
my own worst critic. So I think it is people, like the episode, there was good feedback in chat while we played it, and online, and people were very just kind and complimentary after our last episode. But it's still just kind of like 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years of Sundays is just, it's a lot. You don't realize, like the last weekend, I was like, I don't have to get on a call. I have my whole Sunday. What do I do?
What do I do with my hands? Yeah, no, I get it.
Like, I guess I could clean and do laundry, or I could sit here and mope. I don't know.
Or you do a little column A, a little column B. Get the mopey laundry.
Wow, that sounds like a Pokemon.
Not the one no one wants to catch. But so one of the things I wanted to ask though is like, do you feel like it is important, not just like for streams, but for like home games? Do you feel that it is important for a campaign to have like an ending?
I think so, because if you get to a point, depending on like where you start, or or kind of what your goals are, and that's why I think session 0 is so important.
Yeah,
because it, like the campaigns I've been in that have fallen apart, failed, stopped meeting for whatever reason, for me, there's always been the sense of failure, but also there was so much story left.
Yeah,
there was so much I wanted to do with this character and this group of people, because it is collaborative storytelling. So there's just like this gap. It's like when you, and some people in chat may laugh, I don't know, but it's like you get into a really good fanfic and then it just stops.
Oh god. Finished.
And you're like, but I want to know what happens.
You check back every Wednesday hoping that there's an update from the author.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of not updating all my fics, so no one come for me. I mean, and you never know what happens. Sometimes just people lose interest, whatever. But to me, it feels like that kind of, or to use a cliche, an unfinished symphony. You're like, it just stops abruptly, and you're like, but the music, what's going on? And in an ideal world, barring like personalities or conflicts, I feel like it's really important to finish. Now, whether that's a level 1 to 10 campaign, level 1 through 20, you keep going your epic, because there's such a power in storytelling. Yeah.
And I was actually going to ask you that, is like, if you think there's like a right way to do it, whether it's like, is it story dependent? Is it that level 20 goal, or is it just somewhere in between?
I think it depends on the group, because that's such a subjective thing. Because for some people, they may get to whatever their level 10 looks like, and they realize, especially if it's a group consensus, or maybe someone's leaving and they don't want to continue without them and just remote isn't feasible, whatever a natural progression is, or just kind of ending it at that point and coming back to it, And then, obviously if people are fighting and it's not working
Oh
out,
yeah, yeah,
then
yeah,
then
yeah.
it is what it is. But I feel like just finding a stopping point that everyone can agree to, maybe
Hmm.
not everyone's happy with, but at
Yeah,
least can agree to, is good, because then you just feel like, at least for your character, maybe you put a pin in it.
yeah. I've been present for the group deciding that it's like, oh no, this was it. Like I ran a Curse of Strahd game, and
Mm-hmm.
the whole time the players are talking about like what they were going to do after they get out of Barovia and defeat Strahd and all this stuff, and like the last session happened. And there was this kind of silence that fell over the table, and one by one, they're like, "Yeah, I don't think my character would keep going. Like, I think they would just be like, they just retire from adventuring because they're broken now. Like, they're not
Right.
going to keep going."
I mean, if you get through Strahd and he hasn't messed with your mind and you actually get out of Barovia, I would take a vacation.
Well, without going into too much detail, I had a player cry twice at the table that night.
Oh
So,
no. What? Oh no.
yeah. It was a fun session. But no, I do think that I do think that endings are a really good thing to have if you can have them. I think I talked about this with Masood. I've literally I had a game in 2011 for fourth edition that just stopped for one reason or another, and then in 2019 I messaged all of them. I'm like, hey, let's play the last session. Like, we're gonna fill in the story between that, and then we're gonna play this last session and just finish up that campaign. And that was like a nice little cathartic thing of like, we put an
Yeah.
ending on this. We know what happened.
Yeah, like dungeon crossing, and through no one's fault of their own, but like people had to work or what have
Hmm.
you. We never had that final session where they fought the dragon, and I would love to get everybody back together, but I don't know, people busy making film
Yeah.
and TV. It's kind of
Oh
hard to
yeah.
do that. Well, not right now if they're on strike, um,
True.
but but it was just one reason after another where we just never got that last episode done.
Hmm.
And people still occasionally will go, "Hey, any ever gonna do that?" And it's like, I'm here. I know Brian wants to, Gary wants to, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So with Idle Champions presents, who knows what happens with those? But do you see yourself ever playing Selise again in anything?
Hmm. If we either went back and did like, maybe, I don't want to say an AU, but like look at our characters pre-Rivals, like what was her life like before joining the Rivals?
Oh.
Like, we played those younger, fresh faced adventurers, or maybe you had a life, because Celeste had a family and a
Yeah.
life pre becoming a paladin and taking that oath of vengeance. So we toyed around with it, and this was again way before we thought we would end the show. Of when we do end, because we had mapped out kind of our trajectory anyway. We just
Oh, okay.
we'd ended a little earlier than we planned. Like going back and telling the stories of like, what did we all do before we became rivals?
Hmm.
Do we cross paths before then? Like, does a young Celise maybe run across a young Kent and doesn't remember him because it was so long ago?
I love that idea. I like prequel stuff like that. That's fun.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if I get asked back to ICP, or I usually bring Celise along when B Dave does level 20 charity.
Those are
She
good. That's a
killed
good time
Death.
for her.
Yeah, she killed Death. So
Hey. Oh. So funny story. I had a player recently do the same thing that happened to you, and I was told later about your interaction. I went, all right, well, that apparently Death just can't catch a break.
Death drew the bad card that day. The deck of many things is the devil in a kind of a fun way.
And I decided to have people pull it without going through the cards.
Oh no. Well,
yeah, it was fun. It was for a live stream. Okay, not everybody made it out okay, but it was an NPC. He's fine.
It was for charity.
Yeah. So what you have Rivals wrapping up. Are you doing any other streams coming up?
No. I know a few people are doing some streams, but also I really am enjoying a break of not having to be on camera for 3 hours or what have you. Nothing is coming up. I've been asked about a potential Dragon Age show, but the timing and time zone may not work out because I'm in Central Time. So if everyone else is West Coast, I don't want to be on camera after I've just been at work all day.
Yeah.
But right now there's nothing going on. I still really would love to get a couple home games going. Thanks to B Dave, I really want to play Vampire, like actually play it, not have a for those that haven't seen it, I did a one-on-one shot with B Dave for Vampire where he taught me how to play.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, so if you go to B Dave's YouTube, it should be there.
Or
if you like look up both our names one-on-one shots, VTM.
Okay. I'm gonna look this up because that sounds fascinating.
It was interesting, and like I've always wanted to learn to play, and who better to learn from than the Baron himself,
right?
We're both Dragon Age nerds, so I would love to do more Dragon Age. The hard part is being back on a full-time job and working on a different time zone than my own. So it's like, I also like sleep and having a time for like decompressing, getting out of work mindset, and then maybe sitting in front of a camera. And by the time that happens, it's 11 o'clock at night for me. So,
yeah.
I would love to do more, but I also believe in paying people. So that is the hard part of, I'd love to do a show maybe on my channel, maybe do more with the Rivals crew, but I also, again, would like to pay people what they're worth. And I'm not rolling in 25,000. I can just throw at people for a season or a few episodes. So unless I become either independently wealthy or do another crowd fund, and I'd hate to get people together for just a few episodes, knowing it's going to be very limited.
Yeah.
And while I appreciate some people are willing to do it for the love of the game, having done Rivals, having done Black Dice, and other things where I was paid for my time as a DM or a player, if you're going to be on stream, and this may be controversial, I don't care. I feel like if you're going to ask someone to give you several hours of their time, between the pre-show, getting everybody in place, the 2-3 hours you're on, hopefully your decompressed time after and kind of talking about it for several weeks or ongoing, I feel like you should pay someone for their time. Ideally, if you can have a producer, pay them for their time. Shout out to DC Lasser, producer to the stars, who kept Rivals running. Especially for a DM or GM, because you've got the prep time.
Yeah.
And I know we've talked about this, and I've seen you talk about it on the show. It's very different when you are streaming a game versus a home game. Yep. Home game, we can get together whenever, like, oh, cool, you got 2 hours to hop on Discord. Let's talk about the game versus we have a schedule, we have a contract.
We are going to hit these points in these episodes.
And you ideally you're doing more prep when you're doing a stream show, and there's always, you can't be the straggler, you can't be the one who is always showing up to call time 10 minutes late. We have 10 minutes to get ready to go live. So out of respect just for people's time and energy and what they're bringing to enhance your channel or your podcast or whatever you're doing, pay people what they're worth. And I know people like to say that until it's time to actually pay people. And fair. We've seen it all the time where it's like, what do you mean you charge X for how many hours of DMing? That's a lot of work. You know this, I know this, most of everyone who's been on the show. DMing is a whole lot of work, and when you add in everything else you've got to do, like if I had the money to ask B Dave to DM a series, I wouldn't dare come to that man without a price, or you or Lauren or anyone that we know that DMs professionally.
It's fair. Yeah, there's like, for me in my head, like at one point a group of friends and I were like, oh well, let's just record and we'll put up a show. And like we had talked about it, and we were like, none of us are really caring about money or even the show making money. We just wanted to do the stuff on. That's a whole different thing. But like when it is like, it's a show that you want to have like streamed, you want it to have the overlays and all this stuff like that. You want it to be sponsored. Yeah, especially if you're getting sponsored. Absolutely, you got to be paying people. Like
Yeah.
you invite people on, you got to be paying them because like you're making money off of it, you know?
Yeah, and that's the part that people don't think about. Your initial setup costs if you want to stream your game.
Yeah.
You ideally you should have overlays and you should have character art the first couple episodes. Again, if you can get a producer, because I can tell you from personal experience, it's real hard to be running the game, playing the game, and or streaming the game. And so you're kind of not fully present because you're keeping an eye on the tech.
Yep.
And if you're a player, you have to make sure that you are present when you're in a scene. If you're the DM, it's like, as a DM, I would much rather have a producer.
Oh yeah. There was a situation recently where I ended up with like, oh, it's okay, I'll record and DM and everything like that. And because I just kind of gleefully did that, totally didn't think about checking where the audio is coming from. Only recorded mine for a 3-hour session.
Oh
Ooh.
no.
Oh yeah, that was fun to find out the next day.
Oh, that's terrible. I've had that one episode where I was doing producing. I think it was before we had an actual producer. I don't know why, but my PC, if there's a PS5 controller, likes to make that the speaker.
Oh no.
And people are like, we can't hear anyone. I'm like, what? And then I realized, oh, it's using my controller as
oh my god, that's so
we
annoying.
caught it early, but
Yeah.
it was just bizarre. It was like, of all the peripherals plugged into this machine, this is what you're doing. Okay.
Oh, technology. It's so much fun.
Yep. Yep.
Yep. But you're gonna be on a PAX panel coming up. You're gonna be on is a couple of them or just one of them?
I've learned that 2 were approved. Our friend Dr. Bokamatsu
Yeah.
Take This. We are reprising the Wrong Answers Only, How Not to DM.
I'm so
We did last year or 2 years. I don't remember, but we did it at PAX West, and it was Dr. B, me, Gabe Hicks, that bronze girl, Jasmine Bular, and I'm missing out on someone else.
Oh,
There were 5 of us on the panel.
was it?
It may have been
Brian?
a PAX. No, Brian was in the audience.
Okay, that's why I saw.
He had not yet DM'd any episodes of the show.
Okay.
And I'm blank. It's on
Yeah,
YouTube.
yeah.
It's on Take This Is YouTube. So, but that has been accepted. And then, Amazing Black Femmes in Gaming was accepted. I don't know the time and date. I think they're both Saturday.
Okay.
Of PAX West. So I will be at PAX West.
Very cool. So the bad advice for DMs, like what is this? Because people might be thinking like, why are you giving bad advice for DMs?
It's strictly a comedy panel. It's a come in, enjoy yourself. We're not serious. This is all tongue in cheek. This is so absolutely. Do you wait 5 minutes before you ask someone to guest on your game with no prep or anything else? Sure, why not? Because I basically was deadpan the whole
perfect
episode, and my answer to almost everything was kill the players. That was my answer to everything. But
sounds like what your problem is. You need to kill your players.
I mean, I did it like just no inflection, deadpan. I think I finally broke toward the end of the panel. I told Raph I was going to do this. Of my answer to everything is going to be kill your players or just kill them.
That's fantastic. So yeah, if anyone out there in chat's gonna be at PAX West, definitely go check those out.
Hopefully it'll be streamed. If it is not streamed, I believe Take This usually tries to although I think this is Dr. B's panel. I don't know if it's official Take This, but it's gonna be comedy. Please don't come expecting actual DM advice. Please don't. If you want to actually ask us DM advice, please ask on Twitter well before this panel.
Also, don't take any DM advice. Don't hear anything about like, I'm going to use that one.
There's always one in the audience that you're never sure if they're going with the bit.
Oh, God. It's a little worrisome.
Just a bit.
Speaking of Take This, you're doing a little bit more with Take This since last time we talked on here.
Yes, I am the board chair for Take This.
Yeah.
It was so funny when they asked me. I was like, me? What? It was like, I'm sorry. Did you make a mistake? Am I in the wrong meeting?
So what does that entail?
Going to meetings, being present, you know, whenever there are things that need to be kind of discussed as a board, all the things. It's weird because I'm like, I'm not sure what I can actually talk about.
I mean, that's totally fair. That's a fair answer.
But I was like, wait a minute, I don't know how much I can disclose. But for anyone who's sat on the board of a nonprofit, like we do things like kind of discuss plans and make decisions kind of like the next few months out. When they're like discuss opportunities that are coming, or what do we do about X, Y, and Z. And one of the things that Take This has been very public about is trying to be more inclusive. Because unfortunately, psychology is a very white profession, at least from what I've seen. Because trying to find a therapist as a Black person is a whole interesting challenge.
Oh.
Yeah. Because there are not a lot of Black therapists, is that when someone finds the good Black therapist, everyone tries to make them their therapist. But also it's a matter of money. Therapy is not cheap. It's not always covered. And just a little bit of education for the chat. Unfortunately, a lot of times in the Black community or in certain people of color community, getting therapy, discussing mental health is seen as either weakness. That's not a thing. And there's no polite way to say this, but a lot of people think of that's a white people thing. And it's not. Mental health involves everyone, and that's why like so many people walk around undiagnosed, unaware that they too could have like ADHD or be autistic or have other mental health needs, because at least in communities of color, we are told early and often that's not a thing we do. If you just need to pray it away, or it's not something that we learned. And there's a lot of grifters who will make it their mission to make you feel like you're deficient, when really just sometimes your chemicals in your brain are sometimes not okay. And that's fine. Store-bought's fine to fix that. Or just in general, it's one of those things where there's a mission to try to get more people of color involved. There's a stream ambassadors. I've been a stream ambassador. I still am a stream ambassador. But let people know it's okay to not be okay, and that it's all right to reach out for help. If you go to any of the stream ambassadors chats when they're live, a lot of us have a command that kind of runs. So if you are in crisis, again, I'm going to say this: streamers are not therapists. Even if they are a therapist, they are not your therapist. I know you say this all the time on Champs Psychology, but I want to parrot that. Because there are people who are therapists who stream. Dr. B used to stream for a little bit. But that doesn't mean they're your therapist, and nor should you come into a chat trying to get mental health help. If someone's truly in crisis, if there's a non-police number I can advocate for people to use. If there's someone you can call. But that is one of the missions of Take This, of getting people to understand that having mental health issues, A, is not the end of the world. And B, there is help for you. It's dangerous. Take this. Don't go alone.
It's in the name.
And no matter what it is you're taking with you, you truly are not alone. Because so many people just feel lonely and disenfranchised, and sometimes people are very quick to blame it on things that are not actually their problem. Just again, brains are weird. Brain chemistry sucks.
Yes. Brains suck.
Yes, but hopefully Raph will not yell at me when he sees this episode.
No, I can't imagine he would. But I'm so thrilled to hear that you are on the board and helping with making these decisions and everything like that, because there's no better person in my mind to help out with that sort of thing.
Thanks. I did do a post for Pride Month about mental health representation and queerness. So it's out on Take This's website if you want to go read it. I've shared it a bunch. Take This has shared it a bunch.
Yeah, no, definitely go check those out. And again, all the awesome things that Take This does, because I cannot say enough good stuff about them.
Yes. And if they have a booth to Take This, give them money.
Yes, 100%. Well, Tanya, we're running out of time here.
No.
I know, isn't that wild? It's already been 50 minutes.
No, I actually don't refuse. I would like food, but that's
totally fair.
But I also don't get to talk to you that often. So I'm like, no, how dare.
No, see, this is exactly like the tweet that you put out earlier that I can't tell you how much I appreciate of you being like, I am the sort of friend who I may not talk to you every day, every week, but I'm still your friend because that I'm in that same boat. The funny thing is I hit like and I went to go reply and I couldn't think of what to reply and I went, nah, she's fine with just the like we're on the same level with this.
Well, there are a lot of people who replied, hi, like, I haven't talked to you in a while. I'm like, wasn't farming for that, but okay.
That was exactly why I didn't do it.
But it's like, this wasn't a call out. It was just on occasion. I remember that I have some friends who do need constant communication.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing if you realize who you are and you are that kind of friend and you can communicate that. So if I just send a text, hey, thinking about you, I still may not text you every day, but I know that you're someone who appreciates hearing from someone more often than I feel the need to. And it's not a bad thing. It's just, I just don't feel the need to talk to people every day.
Same. Big same. But if folks out in the chat wanted to find you and what you do on the interwebs, where can they do so?
All my socials are Cypher of Tears, CYPHEROFTY, including the Blue Sky. I'm over there now.
Oh yeah.
But still streaming, still mainly early in the morning during the week, and then weekends is kind of up in the air. Playing a lot of Diablo 4, Street Fighter 6, and now Final Fantasy 16. Then when Baldur's Gate 3 comes out, no one's going to see me. Leave me.
That's Tanya time.
Well, I mean, I've been playing it so much up through patch 9.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll let us carry over a save. No idea if that's true. But as much time as I've now put in this game, I don't want to do all the beginning parts over.
Did you hear Did you hear we're putting Baldur's Gate 3 characters in the game?
I yelled. I'm very excited.
I don't know which ones have been announced, so I'm not saying anything more than that. But yeah, we're going to be there.
I know they were announced. I
know I'm just bad on keeping up on our own announcements.
No, and of course, now that I need to know this on the spot, I couldn't tell you. But yes, Baldur's Gate 3 characters are coming, and I'm very excited.
Well, thank you, Tanya, so much for taking the time to talk with me today. This has been an absolute blast. I hope we get to do that again sometime soon.
Yes, hopefully I'll get to see you in person again at some point.
Yeah, that'd be cool. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Idle Insight. So until next week, take care of yourself.